Before we decode the algorithmic execution of a traditional tech hierarchy, I have 3 critical questions for you to answer in the comments below. Number 1, do you genuinely believe your 10 years of leadership experience is a unique biological asset? Or is it simply a data set waiting to be ingested by a large language model? Number 2, when your organization deploy a virtual executive that can approve complex architecture at 3 a.m. without demanding a salary or equity, how long do you mathematically think your corner office will remain yours? Number 3, are you actively engineering the digital twin of your own departmental operation? Or are you passively waiting to be replaced by one? Let me know your answer. If you are new to the channel, here is my intro. I'm Dr. HR and I approach the global labor and capital market not with emotional, comforting advice, but as a structural algorithmic system. I hold a PhD in human resources, a master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences TISS in Mumbai, and a bachelor's in computer engineering. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, consulting for Tier 1 corporate entities, sovereign wealth funds and apex tech founders across the Middle East and the Indian subcontinent, I have monitored exactly how global talent is evaluated, leveraged and ultimately rendered obsolete. The market does not reward your title, it rewards your algorithmic efficiency. The corner office in Bangalore isn't empty. It is being hosted on a server. Your decade of leadership experience is currently being ingested by an autonomous model that never sleeps, never plays corporate politics, and never asks for a raise. We are uncovering exactly how high-fidelity digital twins are officially outperforming and replacing senior management across the massive Indian tech landscape. What happens when a code base learns to manage itself better than the biological architect who wrote it? A silent, brutal revolution is purging expensive humans' oversight in favor of a digital twin that simulates strategic decision-making with terrifying precision. Discover why the veteran executive you know are being phased out by virtual version of themselves. Think your seniority makes you indispensable? Think again. We have gained access to proprietary management logs showing exactly how AI-driven digital twins are rendering senior roles mathematically obsolete by mastering years of corporate strategy in seconds. This is the autopsy of a traditional tech hierarchy as virtual executive takes the absolute lead in 2026. Before I completely dismantle the illusion of executive job security, expose the precise vector architecture of a managerial digital twin, and give you the exact structural blueprint to transition from an obsolete manager to a sovereign architect, hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell. I post daily videos showing you exactly how to navigate the global labor and capital market using cold, hard engineering logic. You do not want to miss these execution protocols. Stop believing your title protects you from the machine. Grab a notebook, it is time to audit your obsolescence. Phase 1, the provocative reality check, the Bangalore server. We must first diagnose the exact debilitating structural bloat that has infected the Indian IT sector over last 2 decades. The empire of Indian tech, the massive campuses of Infosys, TCS, Wipro and thousands of hyper-growth startups in Koramangala and Whitefield was built on a very specific hierarchical pyramid. You hire 10,000 junior developers at the base. You place 1,000 project managers above them and you cap the pyramid with highly compensated vice president, senior director and chief technology officers. For years, this pyramid worked because the human coordination required biological router. If a client in New York needed a supply chain architecture updated, the request has to be routed through a VP in Bangalore who translated it to a director who translated it to an engineering pod. This model created massive organizational latency and an astronomical executive burn rate. In May 2026, the elite tech conglomerates looked at their balance sheet and realized a cold, undeniable truth. The developers at the bottom of a pyramid actually write the code. The client at the top provides the capital. The massive, highly paid layer of senior middle management in the middle does absolutely nothing but route information, attend status meetings, and enforce compliance. Management is not an art, it is a complex pattern matching algorithm. The provocative reality check is this. The corner office in Bangalore isn't empty because the company is failing. It is empty because the role has been completely abstracted into the silicon layer. The world's most powerful tech firms are currently taking the historical decision-making data of their best executives and feeding it into a proprietary large language model. They are creating digital twins executive. A digital twin is an autonomous agent programmed with a specific strategic constraint, risk tolerances, and approval logic of a senior human manager. Your decade of leadership experience is not a mystery. It is a measurable data trail of Jira approvals, Slack communications, budget allocation, and GitHub commits. When you strip away the ego, the coffee breaks, and the corporate politics, your entire professional existence can be quantified, modeled, and hosted on an AWS or Oracle server. The algorithm never sleeps. It never suffers from a biological fatigue. It never demands an expanded stock options package. It executes the exact same strategic routing as a senior VP, but it does it in a 14 millisecond instead of 14 days. We are uncovering how high-fidelity digital twins are officially outperforming their human counterpart and why the Indian tech hierarchy will never be the same. Phase 2, the high-stakes mystery when code manages itself. To understand the sheer lethality of this replacement, we must deconstruct the mechanics of the machine. What exactly happens when a code base learns to manage itself? The amateur assumes that AI in a workplace means a chatbot writing marketing email or a co-pilot auto-completing Python scripts. That is a consumer-level thinking. The apex deployment of AI is the Agentic Managerial Matrix. Let us map a real-world, high-stakes operational crisis in a Tier 1 Indian tech hub. It is 2 a.m. on Sunday in Hyderabad. A critical payment API for a global banking client goes offline due to a massive server synchronization failure. The biological protocol, the legacy system. The monitoring system sends an alert. The L1 support engineer wakes up. They do not have authority to execute a rollback on a live financial database. They must wake up the director of engineering. The director takes 20 minutes to log in, reviews the log with blurry eyes, and realizes this requires clearance from a VP of operations. The VP is called. The VP demands a synchronous Zoom meeting to assess the liability. By the time the biological hierarchy reaches a consensus, 3 hours have passed. The client has lost millions in unprocessed transactions. The friction of human management destroyed the value stream. The Digital Twin Protocol 2026 system. The monitoring system sends an alert. It routes directly to the Digital Twin VP. The twin does not sleep. It ingests the error logs instantly. It assesses a highly secure vector database containing the last 5 years of corporate incident response data. It cross-references the current API failure against the historical decision made by the biological executive during similar crises. The twins identify the exact rollback protocol required. It checks the financial liability parameter. It calculates the risk matrix. It determines the cost of downtime mathematically exceeds the risk of database rollback. The twin autonomously authorizes the L1 system to execute the rollback. It simultaneously drafts and sends a perfectly formatted, legally compliant incident report to the client in New York and update the Jira board for the morning shift. Total elapsed time, 1.8 seconds. This is the high-stakes mystery revealed. The silent revolution is purging expensive human oversight because human oversight is mathematically too slow. We are trading the fragile, ego-driven latency of a human vice president for a terrifying precision of a digital twin that simulates strategic decision-making at the speed of light. Discover why the veteran executive are being phased out. They are not being outworked by a younger human, they are being outprocessed by virtual versions of themselves. Phase 3, the insider look disruptor, the autopsy of hierarchy. Think your seniority makes you indispensable? Think again. We have gained access to a proprietary management logs of firm currently executing this transition, and the data is brutal. We are conducting an autopsy of a traditional tech hierarchy. When you deploy Lean Six Sigma onto a daily schedule of a senior IT director in Bangalore, you discover massive unmitigated waste. A proprietary time audit log reveals that a biological senior director spends their week executing the following task: 40% in synchronous status update meeting, 25% reading and approving resource allocations and PTO requests, 20% report for the C-suite to justify their departmental existence. 15% actually engaging in deep, unautomatable strategic thinking. The corporation is paying an 60,000 dirhams monthly salary equivalent for a biological router who produces the novel value of 15% of the time. Now let us look at the logs at the agentic twin. The twin integrates directly into the Oracle SCM and Jira architectures. When a mid-level engineer requests additional cloud compute budget, they do not schedule a meeting with the director, they submit the request to the twin. The twin analyzes the engineer's historical code output, checks the macro departmental burn rate, evaluates the projected ROI of a specific module being built, and either approves or denies the request instantly, providing a detailed data-backed rationale. There is zero office politics. There is no favoritism. There is no delay because the director is out of the office at a networking event. The proprietary log shows that the department managers by digital twins deploy code 300% faster. Their operational overhead drops by 40%. The attrition rate of an elite engineer actually improves because the apex developer despises biological micromanagement and prefer the cold, predictable, instant logic of an algorithmic boss. The digital twin renders the senior role obsolete by mastering years of corporate strategy in seconds. The company fires the director, retains the 15% of actual strategic architecture required at the very top of the C-suite, and let the virtual executive handle the rest. Phase 4, the Indian tech vector, the shift in the global arbitrage. We must explicitly analyze why this phenomena is hyper-accelerated in the Indian tech landscape. The entire macroeconomic foundation of the Indian IT service industry, from Bangalore to Pune to Chennai, was built on the concept of labor arbitrage. Western corporations outsourced their development because it was cheaper to pay 10 Indian engineers and 2 Indian managers than to hire one team in Silicon Valley. For decades, the Indian IT giants leveraged this by building massive, bloated management structures. They built the Western client for the oversight and the governance. In the 2026, the Western clients have access to their own AI models. They understand exactly how much effort a software sprint requires. They are refusing to pay for the bloated management layer. They want the raw coding execution. But they refuse to pay the invoice for 5 layers of middle and senior management sitting in a glass tower in Bangalore. To protect their sovereign profit margins, the Indian tech conglomerates have no choice. They must compress the pyramid. They must cannibalize their own hierarchy. They have aggressively deploying digital twin internally. They are aggressively deploying digital twins internally to manage the vast fleet of developers. This allows the firm to drastically cut operational expenses, maintain their profit margins, and offer the Western clients faster, cheaper, and more accurate execution. This creates a massive demographic shockwave. Hundreds of thousands of individuals who spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder, moving from developer to team lead to manager to senior director, are suddenly realizing that the ladder no longer exists. The top of the pyramid has been shot off and replaced with a server rack. The status symbol in Indian tech is no longer having 500 people reporting into you. The status symbol is being solitary architect who programs the algorithm that manages those 500 people. Cost arbitrage is dead. Cognitive arbitrage is the new absolute law of the market. Phase 5, the sovereign architect surviving the purge. We have diagnosed the bloated hierarchy. We have decoded the architecture of the digital twin. We have analyzed the proprietary logs and mapped the macroeconomic shift in the Indian outsourcing. The final phase is your immediate survival protocol. If you are currently a senior director, a senior manager, a director, or a VP in a tech sector, how do you prevent your career from being instantly liquidated by an algorithm? You must transition from a biological manager into a sovereign architect. You cannot fight the machine. If you attempt to prove that your human touch or your emotional intelligence makes you a better manager than a high-speed logic algorithm, you will lose. The corporation does not care about your emotional intelligence. The corporation cares about the value stream velocity. Step 1. Audit your own obsolescence. You must ruthlessly examine your daily output. Are you primarily routing information, approving budgets, and attending status meetings? If so, you are a target. You must immediately offload this task yourself before HR does it for you. You must become the person who automates your own department. Step 2. Program the twin. Do not hide from a digital twin, build it. The elite operators in 2026 are volunteering to train the internal LLMs. They are taking their proprietary strategic knowledge, their risk management frameworks, and their crisis response protocols, and they are formally encoding them into a company's AI architecture. When you build a machine that replaces the management layer, you elevate yourself above the management layer. You become the sovereign architect. The company still needs a human to define the macro parameter, set the ethical and legal guardrails, and pivot the overarching strategy when global geopolitical variable changes. This is your new job. Step 3. Broadcast your dominance. You must extract your leverage and prove your new capability to the global market. You step into your acoustic-treated digital environment. You fire up your elite Cineline gear, your Sony FX series camera with a razor-sharp cinematic lighting. You import the sanitized telemetry data showing how you successfully transitioned a 200-person engineering department from a biological management to an autonomous agentic twin architecture. You do this with presentation flawlessly utilizing DaVinci Resolve 20. You record a highly structured, unsentimental video essay deconstructing the exact physics of the transition. You explain the reduction in the latency, the drop in the operational burn rate, and the increase in the code deployment speed. You broadcast this artifact directly to the C-suite of a global tech conglomerate. When a CEO in London or a sovereign wealth fund manager in Dubai watches the broadcast, they do not see an obsolete middle manager from Bangalore. They see an apex structural engineer of human capital. They see an operator who understands how to ruthlessly extract efficiency from a silicon layer. They will hire you, not to manage their employees, but to architect the algorithm that manages their employee. Look closely at your current job description. Are you managing the work, or are you designing the system that manages the work? The era of a biological manager is officially over. The digital twin has arrived, and it is executing your job flawlessly while you sleep. Stop clinging to your title. Stop fighting the algorithm. Build the twin. Elevate your cognitive architecture and secure your position as a sovereign architect of a new tech frontier. Process the data, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.